Alright, so today we're going to be making Dhalpourie. So to start, we're going to first cook our peas. Here we have dried split peas. These peas have been washed, so we're just going to add it to boiling water. Right, and to that we add in salt and turmeric. Turmeric will help give it that classic yellow color. So we have to let this go for about 25 to 30 minutes to allow the peas to cook before we add the other ingredients to it and grind for our Dhalpourie filling. Right, so while our split peas is cooking, we could go ahead and knead the dough for our Dhalpourie. So here I have sifted flour. Of course, sifting helps to remove all the lumps in the flour. To that, I'm going to add salt for flavor, sugar for a little sweetness, and it will also help to give the roti its color, and baking powder used as the leavening agent. So I just want to mix this until it's well incorporated within the flour. Once that is done, make a little well in the middle to add my warm water. Using warm water will help to hydrate the flour a little faster. So while I'm mixing, I'm also checking to ensure that I'm not over hydrating the flour. A good tip is to always clean your bowl while you're kneading, so that way you end up with any like flakes of dry flour going in your dough. So as you can see, our dough has come together here well, so I don't want to over mix it, because when I divide it into the layers, fill it, roll it out, all that is also technically kneading it. So from here, I'm just going to take a little melted ghee and just coat it. Turn it over. Right, and then I'm just going to cover it with a damp cloth, or if you want to use cling, and let it rest for 30 minutes. Right, so our split peas is boiled. I drained off the excess liquid. Just look at how it took in that turmeric powder color, that rich yellow color. So as you could clearly see, the split peas has bloomed, it's burst, fully cooked, ready to absorb these flavorings. Here to this, I'm going to add some Chadon Beni, garlic, hot pepper, and roasted Geera or cumin powder. So this just add in directly. Remember, I added salt already to the split peas, so no need to add again. So I'm gonna give this a good mix, and then we are going to grind. You could use a food processor, a chopper, a mini chopper, a Laura Sill. I mean, it's really up to you, but we're going a little traditional today, and we're going to be using a traditional mill grinder, old school. Yeah, so it's a hand cranked. That's like Granny used to do it. Gonna add our mixture to the top. And the beauty with this mill is that you could set the width of the mill between the two grinding stones, if you will. It's not made out of stone, but for simplicity's sake, we will call it stones. You could set the width. So I want this as fine as possible. And for me, I prefer, this is a lot harder to set up and use, but I prefer this because this gives you a much more smoother split piece consistency as opposed to the fruit processor. For me, the fruit processor gives you a much grainier end product, which could burst your Dhalpourie when you're making it on the tower. So we just hand cranking. For the first few grinds, I will stop, and you can just feel the consistency in your fingers. And once you know you're happy with this, I'm looking for a smooth and even consistency throughout. Once you're happy, you continue. If not, you just simply adjust the two ends here and adjust here to adjust your grind. So we're gonna grind this out and then divide our dough into layers. All right, so our dough has been resting. Now we're gonna divide it into 6 layers. This will give you about a 10-inch wide Dhalpourie each. Of course, if you want it a little bigger, just divide it into 4 or 3. If you want it a little smaller, maybe 8. Yeah, so we're just gonna first divide it in half. Again, remember, we're not selling it, right? So you don't need to be exact. Yeah, and then what you want to do, just bring in any sides. Everybody has their own way of doing this. I'm just using the palm of my hand and just slowly pulling the sides towards the center or the bottom of the dough. Some people choose to do it upside down and do this. Yeah. Put it back on your counter again. Yeah, you don't want to do this too tight because you want to work it again, and of course, like any other protein, it will need time to rest. Yeah, if you want to do it on the counter, you can do it on the counter as well. Yeah, so now before you cover, you could always watch it. If you see like one looking bigger than the other, you could always pinch off a piece, add it to it. As I said, we're not selling, so it's no big deal if 1 or 2 are different sizes. Yeah, so we're just gonna lightly just coat it in some melted ghee. We don't want to have any dry scabs or those stick together. And then we're just covering it with a warm damp cloth. Leave it to rest for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and fill with our split peas mixture. All right, so our layers are well rested. So what we want to do now is fill it. Yeah, so if you could see our split peas mix here, if I could hold some, you can see that it's, when pressed together, it holds. That tells me it still has a little moisture in it, which I actually want, because again, a dry mixture, a grainy mixture could cause your Dhalpourie to burst on the tower, and we definitely don't want that. Yeah, so I'm just gonna open up my layer. I'm just pinching the edges, ensuring not to spread the center too thin. Reason for that is when the filling goes in, it's actually gonna spread the center for me. So there's no need. Yeah, so I'm just squeezing up the sides. There you go. And like any other protein, once the flour has been worked here, we're gonna grease it with some melted ghee and let it rest. This time we want to let it rest for about 20 to 30 minutes to really allow the protein in the flour to relax, so that when it's time to roll out, we lessen the chances of our Dhalpouries bursting on the counter under the rolling pin. Yeah, if you could leave it for maybe like even 40 minutes, 45 minutes, that'll be good too. Right, so as I said, we're just gonna lightly coat it in some melted ghee. This will prevent any scabs or prevent the flour from sticking, the loyas from sticking together. Give it a nice light coat and then cover it with a warm, damp cloth and let that rest anywhere from 20 to 40, 45 minutes. All right, so our loyas are rested. Time to roll out and go on the tower. So just lightly flouring our work surface. Our hands, rolling pin. So a couple ways you could do this. I just like to lightly dust it in some flour, transfer, and you roll it. Rotate. Get this one out to the way, and you roll. And the key here is to get your edges as thin as possible without bursting your loya. If you don't do that, your roti wouldn't really swell as it should. Yeah, so you roll it out as thin as possible. And you're putting this on a hot tower. You want your tower screaming hot. Yeah, so we're gonna just lightly dust out the excess flour and transfer to the tower. Just brushing on some melted ghee. And flip.